It's We'll See About That with World Series MVP Ron Cey.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to We'll See About That. Ron Cey here with Mike Gary. And Mike, it's spring training time in Arizona already, and we're winding towards March Madness. So college basketball, both men's and women's, are getting heated up here, conference championships and all. It's going to be a pretty exciting month. I'm looking forward to it. And, the USA-Canada hockey game that we just saw here was pretty exciting, too.
Yeah, there was some, political backdrops that we're not necessarily going to discuss, but there was a lot of fisticuffs to start the game. But Team USA did beat Canada 3-1, and now the final is set for coming up shortly. And so I wonder if there's going to be fireworks in that game as well.
Yeah, well, it's they're playing well. I understand that they feel like this is the USA's opportunity now, that they think they've reached a peak with their talent and are ready to take advantage of all that. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, sad news, too. We heard that Victor Wembanyama, the alien, you might say, of the San Antonio Spurs, is going to be sitting out the rest of the season. He's got deep vein thrombosis, a blood clot in his shoulder.
Yeah, I can't imagine how that must feel, but that's really too bad. San Antonio is with Greg Popovich, weathering the storm there, trying to put this kid in a great spot. He's had two, the Twin Towers, I think they called them back then, with
Duncan and Robinson.
And the great teams that they put together. He's probably got the best coach, I think, for him to have at this point in time in his career. It's too bad that he's got some issues with his health, so we hope him a speedy recovery.
Yeah, this actually, we wish him a speedy recovery because he is like one of the future stars of the league. But also, if you're a Spurs fan, this does mean that you're probably going to get a pretty high draft break come next season.
Well, yeah, they're not exactly going to be in the NBA playoffs. Let's put it that way. And yes, there's going to be a chance to regroup. How long Popovich wants to be the babysitter of that is kind of in question too. But I think he's still the right guy because he's accomplished. He's willing to now do this a different way, and he's got the organization's support. So, I think in time that he's got a chance to turn it around.
And real fast, too, I want to say happy trails to Hubie Brown, who retired from calling NBA games at the age of 91.
Wow.
One of my favorite NBA announcers, and we wish him all the best in retirement.
I agree with you. I always enjoyed listening to Hubie Brown. Always had great insight to the game. Okay, we're going to be right back with this next segment of We'll See About That right after we take this quick break. Stay with us.
Check. Hold on one second. Just check. No, we're good. Check. All right, I'll open this one.
They still call me the Penguin.
And we are back. We'll see about that with the legend, the champion, the MVP, Ron Cey. And as always, a reminder that Melissa's Produce is the proud sponsor of We'll See About That. Be sure to use Ron's VIP code RONCEY when checking out at melissas.com. They got all sorts of delicious fruit baskets, gift baskets. You maybe your wife gets mad at you, send her a nice fruit basket. It'll heal all wounds. And Ron, I want to talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. We spent some time talking about with Larry Kahn last week, but I want to get a little bit more in depth with your takes on the Super Bowl. Of course, Philadelphia Eagles won at 40-22. A little bit shocking for me, at least, how non-competitive that game was, and I have a few theories on why. But first, please, what were your thoughts of the game?
Well, I think it was probably pretty shocking to the Kansas City Chiefs too. The way in which and the manner of which Philadelphia was able to completely control both sides of the line, offensively, defensively. As I stated last week, I felt like the defense was the real MVP of that game. And Sweat was the one that was probably the key contributor on that defensive side. And a lot of people thought that he probably should have been the MVP. but it simply goes to, the offense usually, and it usually goes to the quarterback, and that's kind of the way that it rolls out. But Kansas City, I understand their head coach took responsibility for the loss. He said they weren't prepared. That's got to be on me. He said we just did not. They used some kind of a Super Bowl something letdown or something because they had been in it so many times. I don't see it that way. I mean, that's what you're shooting for. You better find a way to manage that idle time or that extra time and know what you have to do. You were going for a three-peat.
Yeah, which hasn't been done since the Packers.
Yeah, and so, it's I just found it kind of odd.
My takes, I totally agree with you. The defense, Philly's defense was dominant. 6 sacks, interception. I mean, for me, it seemed, and also, as you noted last week, Ron, the Eagles rarely brought more than 4. I mean, you didn't see a lot of safety, corner, or linebacker blitzes, and still Patrick Mahomes seemed like he just couldn't get the ball out on time.
I was definitely surprised at that game plan. I thought they would have to blitz. Because I felt they needed to put Patrick Mahomes in a pressure situation a lot. Don't let him scramble. Don't let him get out of the pocket. Don't let him have extra time. Pressure him from the get-go. And they were able to do that with a 4-man rush. So their scenario played out great because they had all the rest of those players in coverage and didn't have to blitz very much. So, the score, 40-22. It more resembled 40-6 like it was with 2.5 minutes to go in the game. I mean, Mahomes was able to pass for half his yardage in the last 3 minutes of the game, and they scored 2 touchdowns. And it looks better. 40-22 is a lot better, but this was a mashing. That's a real beatdown.
It also seems to me that Saquon Barkley, who's somewhat carried, no pun intended, the season for the Eagles. It seems to me that the Chiefs were so concerned about game planning for Saquon Barkley that that left for a lot of opportunities for Jalen Hurts to complete a lot of over the middle passes, little dump and dunks. And I thought the offensive game plan from the Eagles was really impressive.
Yeah, it was. Well, and I thought that Jalen Hurts ran the ball at times where he just broke their back. They were 3rd and long a number of different times. He scrambled. I think he rushed for maybe 70 yards.
72 yards and 11 carries.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty good. And when you have a dominance of the running game, which Philadelphia had for the season, I think they were 65-35. That nobody else in pro football does that. Nobody can run the football that effectively, eat up the clock, score points. Just kind of put you in a bad frame of mind from the get-go. And that's exactly what they did to Kansas City. They scored their first possession. Kansas City had a 3-and-out. Philadelphia marched down the field again, kicked a field goal. It's 10-0 before, it's close to the end of the first quarter already because they ate up the clock. They didn't plan on that happening. They thought they were going to be a lot more effective, and it didn't work out.
And, the Chiefs have been so dominant, like you said. I mean, 6 Super Bowl appearances, in the most recent memory. Looking at the body language of their sideline, they were just in shock. They were in shock that their offense couldn't get going, and it seemed they were in shock, too, that they didn't have an answer for that front four from Philly.
They did not have an answer, and even that at halftime when you go in and make those adjustments, they did not have the ball long enough. They did not run enough plays to get in sync. And when you're trying to find yourself in a game like this, they found themselves in the worst possible spot. They were down a lot, and they weren't going to have that many possessions, which means now you pretty much have to abandon your running game. You have to score quickly and a lot and force turnovers on defense, and none of that worked for Kansas City.
You were part of a prolific sports dynasty during your career in the 70s and 80s. Los Angeles Dodgers, dominant team, best infield of all time, multiple World Series appearances. Do you think that this loss, this drubbing that the Chiefs took, will that affect them moving forward? How does one who's part of a very successful franchise and organization deal with a loss and then rebound from that moving forward to the next year?
Well, there's some moving parts here that, are in question. Is Travis Kelce going to come back and play?
He's 35 years old.
Yeah. And, based on his performance in the course of the season and his playoff performance, and in particular the Super Bowl, there wasn't much there. Not as much as you would like to see. I think Kansas City probably has a lot of question marks. If it bothers you, the players on the team, if it bothers you, then it's going to matter. If you can possibly just shove this aside and say, okay, we had a bad game, and they know they had a bad game, if you are able to learn from that, go back and patch up the places where you really need to have some work done, then it'll probably be okay. And I think, Andy Reid is that kind of a coach. I think he understands the game extremely well. I think he's probably identified what the areas of concern are, and he'll deal with it. But it's a matter of saying, yeah, that was a beatdown. And, I felt that maybe the criticism of Mahomes may have been a little bit too strong.
Yeah, I agree.
For one game. I mean, look, we've all had bad games, and it hasn't been, the marquee game necessarily, the Super Bowl or the 7th game of the World Series where, it came apart. But, he's an extremely gifted player, extremely confident and accomplished player. I think he's not yet 30, I don't believe, and I think he's probably going to just say, you know what, it was a humbling experience. There's a lot to be worked on, and I think he's probably going to be okay. It just depends on what those parts are that are going to be around him, because Philadelphia looks like once they got Barkley, that was kind of like San Francisco getting McCaffrey here a couple of years ago. This was like, wow, you just did that? Yeah, and McCaffrey, if you remember, they went to the Super Bowl that year,
yeah.
Just like the Phillies went to the Super Bowl with Barkley.
Yeah, I think the lesson is that you need two guys. I mean, Mahomes, he's got a great supporting cast, but like you said, Mr. Kelsey's getting a little bit, or I should say Mr. Swift is getting a little bit long in the tooth, and you need to have two threats. Real fast, we got a minute before we hit this break, Ron.
Yeah.
Just to wrap things up here on the Super Bowl and the NFL season in general. So, Super Bowl snacks for you? Is it chicken wings? You like guacamole, nachos, popcorn?
I'm for all of that. I would say chicken wings always works. I mean,
drums or flats? Are you a drum or a flat?
Oh,
guy?
I'm a drum guy. I think I'm a drum guy. I'm a drum guy.
Oh, we're gonna disagree on that.
Well, anyway.
With the flat, you can just get that whole thing off in one bite.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I'm maybe not. I'm not up on that one yet, but yeah, we just had a quiet time with the Super Bowl, and it was. Once again, hats off to Philadelphia, man. They really laid it out there for them.
Yeah, they sure did, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens next year with the NFL. It was always kind of really strange with the salary cap on how teams make adjustments to that. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, okay.
All right, so stick around, you guys. We're here. We'll see about that with Ron Cey, the legend, the MVP, the World Series champion. We'll be right back right after the break. Stay with us. Maybe do a little bit of NBA and college basketball?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you got to talk about USC beating UCLA, number one.
UCLA, their first loss of the year, they dropped down to number 3.
Yeah.
That was kind of I thought they could have stayed at number 1. Notre Dame was the top spot. They got 2. They're really good. Yeah, I'd love to see Corey Post.
Yeah.
During the tournament or after the
Probably after, maybe the week in between the end of the season or the conference championships and the tournament.
Yeah,
but
that might.
all right, here we go. Yeah, I'll lead.
Hello, Ron Cey.
And we're back. We'll see about that. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Make sure to check out Ron's fantastic book, Penguin Power, available wherever you find your books. You can also follow him on Instagram as well. And let's talk a little bit about about basketball. Let's start with the NBA. We're coming off All-Star Weekend, Ron. I'm sure you're glued to your TV watching the All-Star game because it was so competitive.
Well, far cry from what it has been of late. At least it wasn't a 200 to 199 game, right?
That was last year, yeah, 200, yeah, 200.
I think there's still this room for development of a better program. There was lots of festivities, lots of different game kind of competitions going on, skilled competitions going on. And, of course, the slam dunk contest, which I thought was absolutely the worst one I've ever seen. And started out real slow. The one kid from Chicago missed all 5 dunks, I think, lost the ball. He's trying to come from behind the hoop and make a dunk from in front. The next person up, and this is why it lost me because I can't even remember their names. He missed his 4 shots, and my 7-year-old grandson Julian says to me, "Papa, these guys are terrible. Let's turn to something else." And it's like you're absolutely right. I mean, that was supposed to be the marquee, wasn't it? The final event.
Yeah, exactly.
And these guys came up and just dropped a bomb. Yeah, I mean, maybe it ended up okay, but the guy who won it is not an NBA player of status.
No, he's not. And the weird thing is the 3rd time in a row that he's won it. Mac McClung is like a YouTube sensation.
Yeah.
He's the Orlando Magic will sign him to a 10-day contract just so he can get into the dunk contest. And his dunks were amazing. Don't get me wrong.
Yes,
but I mean, I just don't understand. It's like if you're going to have a home run derby where you bring somebody off the street who is really good at hitting home runs but can't throw, can't field, can't run, can't do anything else to be in your home run derby.
Yeah. Well, I just I wasn't familiar, with the finalists in the slam dunk. But when they did the introductions, it was like, you're going to have, we're going to tell you a little bit about this guy and yada, yada. And he comes out and does the first one and he missed. And then he goes over and sits on the bench. And then he does the next guy. And there's a lot of time in between dunks. The guy can't get in sync. You get a rhythm for all of this. And, of course, the beginning of it was highlighted by Vince Carter.
Yeah.
They did a special for Vince Carter because of this unbelievable dunk contest that he won years and years and years ago. That's kind of like the standard.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, the standard. Of which things are judged, but it was. I just didn't feel like it was anything that was going to spark my attention. The 3-point shooting contest too. They had a time clock on it, and it rattled a few of the players, I think, because then they started rushing. But the favorites did not win. The favorites went down. It was. I don't know. I did not watch the game to 40.
That's the new format. We have 4 teams selected by the TNT broadcasters. And they each, Charles, Kenny, Shaq, and Candace Starr will all field team, pick a team, and they'll play to 40 and have a tournament style.
Yeah, and Draymond Green wasn't happy with any of the festivities. I mean, he already came out earlier in the week, I believe, of All-Star Week, and said the regular season games are boring. They're dull. They're not exciting. It's a yada yada. And when you and now you get to the new format with the game to 40, he crucified that game too, saying, "Well, this is all wrong. We got to do something about it." So I'm pretty sure that. There's a lot of room for speculation about how they proceed, but
Charles Barkley, who seems like he doesn't even like basketball anymore, because whenever you see him on TV, he's just complaining about something. And he pointedly took a shot at Draymond, saying, "Look, it's your fault and it's your generation's fault because you guys don't care about the All-Star game. Back when Charles played, we were super competitive. We wanted to win." Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's where all of the professional sports All-Star games have gone. It's just it's entertainment. It's not competition. It's entertainment. What can we do to keep you glued to the TV? You played flag football the year before in the NFL All-Star game. Baseball, you got guys mic'd up on the field. This is it's a game of entertainment. It's not a game of which we played back then because we actually wanted to be the best. National League wanted to be the best. We wanted to prove that every single year. We played it, meant it, and we won 6 of the 6 that I played in. And it was important to us. We wanted to establish that we're the dominant league. We got the best players.
Yeah.
And today, I don't think that exists. They're out there just having fun. They get mic'd up now in regular season games. Those people that are being interviewed on the field are getting paid $10,000 for that. And it's part of the agreement between the players and the owners. And it's, to me, I've got issues with it.
Yeah, it sounds like you do. Notable performances: Steph Curry. He was MVP.
Yeah.
He had pretty great game. Multiple 3-pointers, of course. Also, Jason Tatum had 15 points on 6 and 7 shooting. And so, I mean, they got to figure out something. I mean, the halftime what really killed me is you have this new format with the games, which is whatever. But then you have like a 15-minute delay between the games, so you can have a concert going on.
Yes, concerts are big, just like the Super Bowl. You know, it's part of the deal. The performers perform for free. It's the publicity that they want. I'm sure that they are contacting all the important people to make sure that they get that spot. You know, there's a lot of people vying for it, but you know, I don't know if you saw the beginning of the football broadcast when they had Lady Gaga down on
on Bourbon Street.
On Bourbon Street,
yeah.
And she sang the airplane movie with Cruise.
Yeah, the Maverick, Top Gun song.
Yeah, Top Gun. You know, she was fantastic. I have
I know you're a Lady Gaga fan.
I am. I'm big on her. I think she's probably the greatest female performer that we've had in at least in my time.
Ooh, Madonna is getting a little mad about that.
Oh, you know, I give Madonna a lot of credit because she was the one who kind of opened the door.
Yeah.
You know, and there's been others. But Lady Gaga is so incredibly musically talented. I don't think I've ever seen her do anything on all the award shows and everything else. She did a tribute to David Bowie, one that just absolutely just rocked the house. And
you can actually look her up on YouTube before she was famous. There's videos of her at a very small New York City coffee house, just her and her guitar covering Led Zeppelin songs.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I like John Batista's version of the national anthem.
Oh, yeah. I did. I thought that was really good. And I thought that Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga, their little duet, if that's correct.
Yeah.
I thought that went really well, too.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about college basketball.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me is that Auburn is number 1.
Mm-hmm.
You have SEC schools. You have Auburn and Alabama.
Yeah.
You know, very, very competitive. Great game last week. We have Florida number 2, Duke number 3. Duke just won at home the other night. Alabama 4, Houston number 5, Tennessee number 6, Texas A&M 7, Iowa State number 8. And you know what I'm not seeing? I'm not seeing any North Carolina. I'm not seeing any UCLA.
Nope.
Not seeing any USC.
No Gonzaga either.
No Arizona or Arizona State. No UConn.
UConn, not in the top 25 at least. What is a little bit surprising to me is St. John's, Rick Pitino. Unbelievable. They were I think last week they were ranked in the top 10.
They're number 10 as we speak, 22-4.
Yeah, and he was brought in to do just exactly that. And I thought, quite honestly, I mean, St. John's does have a history in college basketball.
Yeah.
But it's been a long time since, and for him to come in and, you know, turn this program inside out, I mean, I think it's fair to say that they are now, and they are good. They are very competitive. They play good basketball. They learned well. He's a good teacher. I'm not surprised that he has been able to get them to buy into the program because it's running on all cylinders.
Well,
right
two
now.
things to unpack here. Rick Pitino, you know, is a great coach. but usually, he goes to a team, brings great success, and then the NCAA comes a calling. And also, when I look at the top 10 right now, Auburn, Alabama, Houston, Tennessee, Texas A&M, Iowa State, Texas Tech. What do they all have in common? Great football programs.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if that NIL money is trickling down into the basketball program.
Boy, I'm still having, this is still relatively new, and what is it, about 3 years now or so into it. The transfer portal gives me, I think, even a little bit more of a problem because it becomes free agency, and these schools that have the money to throw out the nils can get these kids to switch schools in a heartbeat, and they're there for 1 year and gone in most cases. But yeah, Auburn has played very well. They have played good competition. They've won close games. I think they're legit, a number one seed for sure. Alabama, I saw get taken apart after they had lost to Auburn earlier in the week to Missouri. Missouri handed it to them pretty good. Alabama's a very tall team, and they are good. Florida is another one. Houston's on the radar for me. They have played some really good teams down the stretch and won them all. They had a tough game on the road against Arizona, and Arizona is a team that's, I think, going to be reckoned with in the tournament. And we're going to now take another break we'll see about that, and we'll talk more college basketball right after this message. Stay with us.
All right, very nicely done. We can probably sneak in this next one right here.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
The fans are rooting for the Dodgers.
And we are back. We'll see about that. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Make sure to check out our complete archives available on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and on Ron's website, theronsayshow.com. This day in Dodger history, or this week in Dodger history, that is, presented by BFF Financial. 2006, the Dodgers announced the team had extended the contract of 78-year-old Vin Scully through 2008. The Bronx-born Hall of Fame broadcaster, considered by many, well, he is the best announcer in baseball history, began his 57th year in Dodger blue.
Amen. Yeah, unbelievable. I think it was 66. Maybe was the last number. He went on for another 9 more years before he retired and then passed away. And they got it right. Best announcer of all time, I believe. Certainly in the course of baseball.
No one had done it better, and one man in the booth.
Yeah, that's the amazing
the
thing.
The secret sauce, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to carry the whole show. And he always had a picture in his mind that he could paint to you and make you feel like you're sitting there observing it live. He had this incredible skill to maybe make you feel like it's sitting right in front of you.
His voice, if you listen to his voice and my grandfather's voice, Winston Smith, exactly the same voice.
Wow.
And so it was always very evocative to me.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about college basketball. Do you want to move on to the women's?
Sure. Let's talk about Corey Close and the UCLA Lady Bruins. They've been ranked number 1 for most of the year. They had a tough loss here, I believe maybe in the last 10 days, 2 weeks, to crosstown rival USC, who's also having a terrific season. And they dropped to number 3 in the poll, which I was a little bit surprised about. I thought they might even be able to hold on to number 1 because that was their first loss. And the number one team now is Notre Dame, and they've lost 2 games.
They have, yeah.
And look out for UConn. UConn is moving up the ladder. They're beating some really good teams now. South Carolina, and their dominance is still there. But they have shown that, they may not be quite as dominant as they have been. There's a number of teams on the list, and USC is one of them as well.
Yeah, it's Notre Dame, of course. And Notre Dame and Texas, 1 and 2, both two losses. Whereas UCLA only 1 loss. But at number 3, SC right behind them with 2 losses at number 4. And like you said, UConn on the upswing right now at 24-3, and South Carolina 23-3, LSU 25-2, Ohio State 21-3, and North Carolina rounding things out 23-4.
Yeah, I still like that top 5. I think that's where it's at. I think it's where it's going to be settled. Could be wrong, but usually women's basketball, ranked teams pretty much hold their own against each other, and especially the top-ranked teams. So, yeah, I would say those top 5. Top 5 with South Carolina, UConn, Texas, UCLA, and USC. Yeah, that's going to be tough.
I noticed
and Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. And the ratings are up considerably this year.
Oh, yeah. I think women's basketball is becoming a lot more competitive. All the games are broadcast now, so you're getting an opportunity to see them all. The Nils are part of that, the whole thing. I'd love to get Corey Close back on here. I just don't know when it would be a good time to get her, whether it's before the season ends, or maybe when the tournament starts, or maybe at the end. It's hard. I understand her time's going to be very selective at that point.
There's a certain segment of the media, like the outkick the coverage guys, like the Clay Travises, like the Barstool guys, and they are still not receptive to college basketball, to women's college basketball, and be like, oh, this is not even real basketball, blah, blah, blah. What do you have to say to those guys?
You know what? I feel badly that they take this the way that they do. Women's basketball is extremely competitive. They are very skilled. They have come enormous ways, advanced in incredible ways, moved forward. No, it's not men's basketball, but these women, I guarantee you, look, they're very good, and they would beat a lot of teams.
They'd mess you up. Yeah,
they would mess you up. Yeah, they would. And the fact is that I'm not exactly sure what the women's overall shooting percentage is from the foul line, but I've always wondered whether or not they shoot free throws better than men. And it's up there. It's pretty good. I think it's pretty close.
Yeah.
But yeah.
The passing is crisp. The defense is always the amount of competitiveness.
Yeah.
And I think that's I think a lot of people.
Yeah, you don't have people playing at the rim.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obvious. I mean, that the athleticism and the strength there is not going to be that. But I got to tell you, these women are really good. And I enjoy watching college basketball, women's college basketball. I think it's, I would definitely go watch a UCLA basketball game.
All right, let's talk a little bit about baseball. Right over our shoulder here, we have 2 of your former teams playing in spring training.
Yeah.
We have the Cubs and the Dodgers. We can't say the score because we'll get sued, but
well, it's only spring training.
It's only spring training, but
and I believe spring training for me is obviously it's changed a lot since we played. We probably had our starting lineup out there a lot more than they do at this point in time. They scale things down, and I think in the normal course of spring training, I needed maybe about 50 at bats to feel comfortable, just to see everything and be able to go out there on a different day. And we used to call it 5 and fly, play 5 innings and get your 2, maybe 3 at bats in, and then go work on the other fields and do your stuff. That was enough because the concentration level's not going to be there. You want to have a couple quality at bats. You want to have some plays in the field just to get used to it. But yeah, the season is a long one, and when you toe it up opening day, it's a long run to the end of that, and those have to be sharp and focused, and the rest of it is just preliminary, a build-up to make sure that you're there. And I usually had a scale where I would get down to a week, and if I wasn't ready to play that day, then I probably just step it up a bit, tweak it a little bit, and make sure that I was ready to go opening day.
Mm-hmm. We did see in this very first spring training game between the aforementioned Cubs and Dodgers the first implementation of the automated ball and strike challenge system.
Yeah,
Max Muncy, he was sitting there at a 1 strike at 0-1, and the Cubs pitcher threw one in, didn't like the way the result, called for the replay, and the pitch was changed from a ball to a strike.
That sounds odd, but yeah, you better be careful what you ask for when you want something to be challenged, for sure. Yeah, I think it's inevitable. You know, they have been playing with it in the minor leagues, and where you could challenge, a hitter could challenge a pitch, the umpires in today's game of baseball, as we saw last year, I believe it was, when one of the umpires was asked to step down a little bit prematurely to the end of the season. Yeah, they certain ones of the umpires have been getting a lot of scrutiny, and they get hammered over it, and you get graded. Bill Russell, my former teammate, the shortstop, and ex-manager of the Dodgers, works for MLB umpiring, and he grades umpires out both in Anaheim and Dodger Stadium. And yeah, they are graded on that strike zone, that K zone thing. And yeah, it's you get a grade. You get a grade.
I'd like to, just as a layman, offer the umpires a word of advice. If you're going to be terrible at your job, you know, that's on you. And you, like you said, that you are going to be graded. But if you're going to be a jerk and also be terrible at your job, you're going to draw far more attention to yourself.
I agree. I think that the umpires have always understood that they're not supposed to be the focus of the game. And when they do start to take over, and now they're throwing guys out, they're getting upset when a guy kind of challenges the umpire, like, how did you miss that one? And they're ready to bring this guy up. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Angel Hernandez.
Yes.
The Los Angeles Dodgers are they're projected by, I don't know how they do this. There's some like physicists at Caltech who like work on this. They're projected to win 104.5 wins this year. The highest preseason win total since 1990 with their judging here. You agree with that? You think that with all the moves they've made this offseason, all the money they spent, that they're going to run it back?
Yes to all of that. They did spend the money 2 years ago. They spent $1.4 billion in the offseason, which outspent everybody else combined in Major League Baseball. I think there are a number of teams that are going to make it interesting. I would say that the Dodgers are probably the fan pick to be the number one seed, if you will, the number one team that you think is going to be the winner of the World Series. I think there was something about the 26.7% chance of winning the World Series, and that's far better than anybody else in there.
Yeah.
But I think the Yankees are going to recover. I think there's a few teams out there I think that are going to be very competitive.
Yankees.
Boston.
What do you think about my Yankees?
Yeah. I think the Yankees are I think they're going to come back, even with the loss of Soto. I really do. And of course, hometown Mets. They've got a club that, can be reckoned with, too. I mean, remember, they were in that playoff last year, too. And what about San Diego? San Diego had the Dodgers pretty much down and out.
Yeah,
and
on the ropes.
If it hadn't been, great pitching and lack of offense from San Diego, they may have been in the Fall Classic. But, yeah, it's not you got to go, you still got to go out there and play the games. On paper, it looks really good. They're stacked. Somebody in her office of the Dodgers the other day I was speaking with, and you got Disneyland Tokyo. You got 4 players. And apparently they are on all the billboards in Tokyo.
They are.
They are making a ton of money off sponsorships and everything else. They are definitely tapping into that resource. And they also have $1 billion in deferred payments. Huh?
They do with someone coming a gentleman who's coming off an MVP-like season and is now going to pitch again, coming off Tommy John surgery.
Yeah,
so.
well, they're talking about going to a 6-man rotation. It's not in the plans in the moment, but they've got 4 starting pitchers that have $100 million contracts.
Maybe
that's stacked.
Maybe our friend Brad can help them out with some of their investments. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back. Right after the break, we'll see about that. Stay with us. Hey, Brad, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, how are you? Sorry about the delay, buddy.
You guys are in Arizona?
No, I'm going to be next week.
Hey, Ron's going to be there next week.
Oh, I'm here now.
Where are you staying?
I'm in Scottsdale.
Okay. Is it nice? Nice day?
The weather, yeah, it's good. It's a nice day.
Good.
It's better than yesterday where they had apparently a midair collision over the airport.
I saw that in the news.
Yeah,
we're having a number of those lately.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm driving, so I'm not worried about it. Yeah.
Well, the girl I'm dating texted me immediately. You're not on that plane, am I? Or are you? I'm like, well, if I was, I wouldn't be answering.
Yeah, we'd be talking to you.
Yeah, wouldn't be answering this.
All right, I don't know if you heard, Ron, Brad. We just gave you a little shout out, so maybe some of these Dodger $100 million pitchers can come to you for some financial advice.
That.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Well, hey, were you guys were talking about women's basketball,
right?
I used to sit on the floor for the Sparks because it was the basketball was better in the sense that it was pure. It wasn't about showtime and dunks and in somebody's face and all that. It was pure basketball the way it was what Naismith intended. Passing, defense. I mean, it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, I was back when Lisa Leslie was playing.
Oh yeah.
It was a blast.
Yeah, she was great.
I had a blast.
Yeah. No, they're
such a fun time sitting down on the floor.
They are really skilled today, much better than they were 10 years ago. The whole game, they shoot the ball better. They're in better condition. They pass the ball better. They handle the ball better. They're skilled. They are skilled.
Good basketball.
Yeah,
it's good basketball. You guys know. I mean, my uncle coached for the Lakers, so basketball. I enjoy good basketball.
Who was your uncle?
So. Larry Kreger is my dad's younger brother.
Oh, yeah?
He coached under Sharman.
Oh,
he
cool.
Coached with Bill Sharman.
Oh, nice.
They won the ABA with the Utah Stars, and then when Sharman was asked to break his contract and come to the Lakers by Jack Kent Cooke, he asked my uncle as well, and my uncle told him no. The guy was dumbfounded. He was like, what? You're not? Kind of goes, my father taught me to honor, be good for my word. I will not break my contract. I'll see you when it's done. Oh. And he did.
My very first autograph of any kind was Bill Sharman.
Really?
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, he played for the Dodgers. He was a left fielder.
Yeah, he also has, I think, more rings than Phil Jackson.
No shit.
He's the only guy that I think has more than Phil Jackson. I think he's got 16 rings or something. No, it's ridiculous. It's nuts.
What?
And and he used to be the all-time best free throw shooter. He had a consecutive streak that had been broken, but he had like 55 in a row at one point. Yeah.
He was the real deal.
Yeah, he was. He could definitely shoot. He and Bob Cousy and all those other guys. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad used to golf with him all the time. He was a great athlete.
Nice guy. Nice guy. Really nice guy.
Oh, hell yes.
All right, how do you guys want to do this today?
You know that pregame warm-up? You know the pregame warm-up for basketball?
What?
They didn't used to do that. And my uncle, when he was coaching with Sharman, said, hey, we kind of, these aren't the words he used. He said, we kind of suck in the first quarter until we get warmed up. Maybe we should warm up before the game. And Sharman looked at my uncle to figure it out. So my uncle came up with something. and they started doing it. Now everybody does it. Sharman got credit for it. And
Yeah,
I asked
well,
my
you
uncle
know,
about it.
we
He goes,
used to take infield back in the day, and they don't take infield
don't anymore.
anymore. you know?
No.
No.
Well, do they ever?
Oh, they do drills. They have work on the field prior to batting practice starting, I believe, that they go through, and this kind of takes the place of that. And you know what? I'm okay with it now. In the beginning, I wasn't real cool with it. It's not that you have to take it every day, but when you have new players with all these new fields that came about in the last 10 years or so, you're going into a ballpark for the first time, and if you don't take infield, you're not going to have an understanding of where all the caroms are. And so it's good to, I would say take infield practice the first day you come in, and then if you don't want to do it that way, do it the other way.
Huh.
Yeah.
So even with all these, even these pristine fields that they're building today, still have little weird shit happening.
Well, it's more about the outfield configuration. You have to understand where the
okay.
ball kicks
All right.
around out there. The infield
Okay,
is like a
that makes
putting
sense.
green. They're
that's what I was
they're
thinking.
immaculate
I'm like,
today. I wish I had played on this infield, kind of infield, because you'd have to be really bad to not be a good fielder. There was no the bad hops are an obsolete term in baseball today.
So no broken glass
Really?
like there was in the infield years
Oh, and
ago.
no divots, and we're from guys running the bases,
Discarded needles. And,
Yeah, exactly. Guys-
discarded needles? Where the
Yeah,
fuck
they
were
were
you
shooting
playing?
up during
the mean streets of South Pasadena, Brad.
Right. Apparently.
All right, how do you guys
It's
want to?
hardcore down there.
What do we wanna do
What are we
today?
doing today?
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well,
How
I mean,
should these guys invest their money today that are making, sign $100 million contracts? Where would you put your money?
yeah. Well, we could talk about that.
All right,
We could just say,
I'll
yeah.
introduce it, and you can go from there.
All right.
Yeah, that's
I-
good.
I,
Yeah, that's a good way to
yeah,
do it.
let's do that.
All right, Ron, can you
Let's
just
do that.
tilt that mic towards you a little bit? All right, perfect.
This way?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we're just
Yeah, and I'm looking at this the little green dot on my phone, right?
yeah, where you're looking
Yeah.
at is fine right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like your little flower background back there, Brad. It really,
Yeah.
it brings out your eyes.
It's hard to find.
All right, so we're just gonna that's a good way to open it, Ron. Be like, all right, it's baseball season, and well, first of all, welcome to Brad's the Financial Coach Corner, Brad Kreger. Brad, it's baseball season. We're seeing a lot of big contracts out there. Where some of these multimillionaires invest their money?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
All right. Well, I will address it.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. Stand by.